What's going on, guys? This is Damien from The Lookout and welcome to Learn to Play Red U7 Goku. This is your ultimate guide, super in-depth guide for learning how to play U7 Red Goku in Fusion World. But before we begin this video, huge shout out to the Coffee Club, our lovely patrons. These are our $2 and up patrons. They buy us coffee, they keep this insane content grind machine going. And guys, thanks a lot for your support. If you wish to join the Coffee Club, link to our Patreon is in the description below. And I think that's about everything. Roll the video! As with all of our videos, let's start with a breakdown. So I'm gonna give you an archetype breakdown. We'll go super in-depth on how it works and why. I'll show you lines of play, various interactions. I'll show you my deck list, and then we're gonna go over the first 3 turns. Gameplay for the first 3 turns with this deck. And then we'll just wrap it up with a summary. Let's go! First things first, let's start with the game plan. So what's the game plan for this deck? We pressure our opponent with cheap battle cards. And we look to awaken as fast as possible to give all of our battle cards plus 5k buff for free. Plus 5k power for free for doing literally nothing. That's what this deck does. After awakening, we just attack like crazy with our huge attackers, and we just rush down our opponent. It's a crazy deck. Let's start with the leader. This is our leader, Son Goku, red 15k Saiyan, Universe 7. When attacking, draw 1, and then just awaken at 4 lives or less, draw 1. So this is extremely standard, super basic. Let's just jump into the awakened side. On the awakened side, our leader is one of the best in the game. Like, this leader is absurdly dangerous. 20k, that's standard. Draw on attack, also standard. Permanent. During your turn, all of your battle cards with Universe 7 special trait get plus 5k power. For nothing. Just for existing. Just for playing the game. Everything gets plus 5k. This plus 5k buff is huge. It's colossal. However, there is a lot of math that we need to go through, a lot of math that needs to be done to show you how big this buff and how significant it is and what can you actually do with it. So let's just jump straight into that. So first off, how does the buff actually work? Well, let's take this Vegeta for example. You see under his name, Saiyan and Universe 7. These are traits. So his traits are Saiyan and Universe 7. And because he's Universe 7, he automatically gets plus 5k buff from our leader. Alright, let's do the math. Let's jump into the numbers. Power levels in Fusion World. What is the average power per cost? Okay, so let's start with 2 costs. 2 costs are usually 15k. Sometimes 20, 15 is the low end, 20 is the high end. 3 costs are either 20 on the low and 25 on high. 4 costs are always 30, unless they're skillless, they're always 30. And 5 costs, boss monsters, are always 40. So this is the average power per cost. As you can see, in this game, power usually increases in intervals of 5 or 10. When we look at the difference between 2 and 3, here we see 5 or 10. If we look at 3 and 4, once again we see 5 or 10. But when we look at 4 and 5, it's only a 5k difference. So yeah, now let's check out skillless cards. Power levels work differently for skillless cards. Skillless cards don't have any abilities. However, they compensate with higher power. They're always on the highest end, the highest threshold for the cost. So a 3 cost skillless card is always going to be 25. A 1 cost is always going to be 15. It's always the max. So when Goku gives them a plus 5k boost, he moves them into the upper cost territory. For example, Frieza is 25, right? That's normal for a 3 cost skillless card. But when Goku gives him plus 5k, it moves to 30, which is a 4 cost power level. So basically you're paying 1 energy less to gain 1 entire cost of power more. That's what Goku does. That's really, really insane. So Goku's plus 5k buff either pushes your cards on the lower threshold of power to a higher threshold, or it moves them up by an entire cost in power. So here's an example. Vegeta, which is 15, gets plus 5, goes to 20, and he is equal to Zarbon now, who is on the high threshold for power in cost 2. Or we have this Goku, free cost 25k. When you buff him, he moves to 30k, which is skipping the entire free cost and going into 4 cost levels of power. But wait, if that sounds crazy enough, guys, you haven't seen anything. It gets even better. You see what Goku can do and no other leader can. He turns your useless early game cards, like they're not useless in the early game, they're useless once the opponent's leader awakens, into legitimate attacker. So leaders are 15k unawakened, right? And when you play a 15k card, you can threaten them, you can deal damage. But once they awaken, they become 20k baseline. So a 15k card becomes useless against it. It can't deal damage without you sacrificing cards from hand. For example, if this Vegeta now attacked Android, wouldn't do any damage. Androids would just be 20 and you would have to use cards from hand. But with Goku's buff, all of your 15k cards go to 20k territory. So all of them are now big enough to deal damage to leaders without comboing. So now that you swing, you immediately threaten them. It's equal power, and then you start comboing from there. So you will start comboing from equal ground. That's what Goku does. That's the really, really crazy part of this card. The next thing that we need to talk about is self-awakeners. So one big thing is that we need to awaken as fast as possible to get the plus 5k buff online. The buff is crucial in this deck. It's crucial. It's the reason why we're playing it, which is why we're running a few self-awakeners. Now, what are self-awakeners? These are the cards that take our own lives. They help us get to 4 and to awaken faster. Let's say this free cost Goku, his ability is the one on the top. You add 1 card from your life to your hand and then you KO something. Krillin, when you play him, you add 1 card from your life to your hand. You're looking to get to 4 as fast as possible. Why? Because there are some strategies that can stop you by not swinging into your leader. If they can't stop you, they will slow you down. Because you're basically useless until you awaken, and some decks can just control your board and not swing into your leader. And then you'll have a pretty hard time getting that plus 5k buff at a point in the game when it actually matters. That's why we're running self-awakeners. The last card that we will be going over is the secret rare. Yeah, there is a secret rare in red, and that is U7 Goku. It's pretty cool. It allows us to burn when it KOs a card. Like you can see, auto when this card KOs an opponent's battle card in battle, we deal 1 damage. However, this might sound crazy to you, but the card isn't that good in this deck. It's not that good in this deck. Yes, it's 35k burn, but it's not as strong as playing a couple of smaller cards which get plus 5k buff. Like, it's not so strong that you're gonna be running more than 2 copies. You can run up to 4, but you're not gonna be running 4 copies. We often get much more value from our regular cards, so sometimes we just don't run 4 SERs, I guess. Run 2 copies. Here is the deck list, link is in the description below. This was made on Deck Planet. Again, link is in the description below. Some cards are placeholders. You will see 4 Piccolos in the list, that's 4 Gokus. You will see 2 of some card, I can't remember, I think it's the other Namekian. That is 2 secret rares. And the only change from this list is that Roshi is the first one, goes to free, and then the other one is bumped to free. That's so that you can awaken as fast as possible. It's not the optimal list, but it's a good blueprint, a good skeleton for you to build your own lists on. Now, let's check out the Mulligan. Here is our Mulligan, so we're grabbing a Roshi, we're upping it in the deck to 3 instead of just 2. We grab the Krillin and we grab the Goku. It's very simple. As you can see, you're only grabbing cards that can take a life, only cards that can help you awaken as fast as possible. In this part of the video I'm going to be showing you gameplay for first 3 turns. Yes, your tutorial for playing the first 3 turns with this deck. As always, we'll be using the provided deck list. We're assuming that you went first and that you have kept the shown Mulligan. Alright, let's see what this deck can do. Turn 1, the usual setup. This is what our normal turn 1 looks like. So we start the turn, charge 1, pay 1. We play the Roshi, optimally this Roshi. We use his activate main to take a life. We don't care about the rest of the effect. We just care about grabbing a life and then we pass the turn. There really isn't much to do on turn 1. So we either play this one or the one that draws us a card, but that's basically it. Turn 2, putting on some light pressure. We start the turn, charge 1, draw 1, now we're on 2 energy. We pay 2 to play Krillin, we take a life once again. Krillin gets plus 5k power because it's our turn, he's 20k. We attack for 20, the attack resolves. Then we attack with our leader, we draw 1 card. The attack resolves and then we just pass the turn. Turn 3, it's time to awaken. We start the turn, charge 1, draw 1 and then we pay 3 for this Goku. He takes a life when we play him and he KOs something. Now this is probably our 4th life, right? So we awaken, we draw 1 for awakening and our permanent is now online. We give all of our battle cards plus 5k. So Goku swings for 30k. The attack resolves, we swing with our leader. We draw 1 for attacking, the attack resolves, and then we pass the turn. Before we end the video, let's quickly jump into the summary. U7 Goku is going to be an amazing deck, amazing tier 1 instantly. The seemingly minor plus 5k buff is actually massive. As I have shown you, the buff is massive, it's really scary. The deck however struggles in the early game if your leader doesn't get attacked. So assume that a lot of players will figure out that they shouldn't attack you. This is why you play Self-Awakeners, otherwise this will really slow you down. Overall, it's a fun deck, it's extremely easy to play, it's supremely easy to play, and I recommend it to everyone trying out Fusion World. That's it for the video, let me know in the comments below, will you give U7 Goku a go? Are you excited to play this deck? Do you already hate this deck and what's it gonna do to the meta? Let me know in the comments below. I read all of your comments, I try to respond to everything, I love our little community. And guys, while you're here, share the video, hit those like and subscribe buttons, help us get to 4k subs when I'm gonna give away a booster box. This has been Damien from The Lookout and I'll see all of you in the next video.